Right, okay. So is hypnosis like just the Jedi mind trick and it's kind of like this voodoo magical thing that people just have to believe in? Or does it actually work? Good news, it actually does work. Hypnosis, even though it feels kind of mystical, even though it feels kind of kooky, it's actually one part kook and one part very grounded in psychology and in science. So, to start off, hypnosis and trance is a state actually verified by science. It's a state in between being awake and being asleep. Trance is a state of intense focus. So that can occur whether you have your eyes closed, eyes open. Even now, as you're watching the screen, there is a form of trance going on. Hello, YouTube. Hello, TikTok. Hello, Instagram. Like and subscribe to this channel. So, what that means is we are constantly going in and out of trance throughout our day. And we're constantly going in and out of full consciousness and semi consciousness throughout the day. It's kind of just how we have been wired in this technological age. And hypnosis actually occurs when your brain takes in a piece of information and accepts it as a truth. That's a definition from one of my mentors, Steve Rain. So, by that definition, we are always being hypnotized for something. And that's not exactly a bad thing. You know, our parents hypnotized us to always look both ways before crossing the street. How many of you would probably unconsciously stop, drop, and roll if a piece of clothing was on fire, right? So that's an example of positive hypnosis. It gives us a really good unconscious response that keeps us safe. So how does it actually work? There's a bunch of things I could talk for hours about this, but for the sake of making it a video, I'm going to go into two big parts of it. One is bypassing the critical faculty, and the second is offering suggestions. So, bypassing the critical faculty. First of all, your critical faculty is kind of like your built-in BS meter, right? It's actually not a part of our brain. It's a series of habits and conditionings that we've acquired throughout our lives. Usually in early childhood is when we start developing this BS meter. It's honestly, it's not a bad thing either. And some spiritual people will call it the ego. Some people will call it the critical faculty, but really it's that thing in our brains that protects us constantly. It's constantly working to keep us safe. So that critical faculty is going to say, nope, I think this car salesperson is just screwing with me. Or that critical faculty is going to keep you safe from falling for a Ponzi scheme or from going out with somebody who's really coming on a little too strong. The critical faculty is going to act up and say, hey, BS meter, that's out of 10. However, the critical faculty is first and foremost designed to keep us safe. And sometimes that critical faculty will keep us in stories that might be safer, but actually don't help us at all. So the critical faculty is also responsible for stories such as, no way, that's impossible, I can't get ahead. No way, I can't do any better than this relationship. Even though I'm miserable, I can't just leave it. Also, no way, I can't just ask for a raise. This isn't, that's how it always works. That's the structure. I can't just go talk to my boss. That critical faculty is not actually helpful for your thriving, right? So what being in trance does is it puts you into a state of either relaxation or it puts the mind into a state of complete spin so that critical faculty is quieted for a moment, right? So when you're in a traditional eyes closed, guided journey sort of trance, oftentimes there's that relaxed meditative state and that critical faculty will quiet down so that your unconscious mind can come up, bring up stored pieces of information in ways that are significant to you so that the subconscious and the conscious mind can communicate effectively, right? Because the conscious mind, in order to get on board with a lot of healing and new ideas, has to think that it came up with it. The conscious mind has to be on board. So a good way to get the unconscious mind, which stores our emotions, our programming, our little unconscious habits, or maybe fears or protection mechanisms, also the unconscious longings and desires that we have suppressed because, hey, maybe it might be a little weird, it might be rejected by society. When that all can come up because the critical faculty has been quieted, the conscious mind can then analyze it and say, oh, okay, got it. And then the conscious mind is on board with whatever change you're trying to come to. So that's bypassing the critical faculty. Now, the next step is offering suggestions, because that's where the reprogramming happens. So let's say, and also it's called a suggestion, not a command, because really it's still just a suggestion. Your mind will usually boot out anything that's too outlandish according to your moral code and your values. That's the cool part about hypnosis, is it is not mind control. It is simply opening your mind up to other ideas. So let's say you've only been going to one restaurant for the past 6 years, and then somebody suggests, hey, how about we go to this new restaurant? You have the opportunity to refuse that suggestion. But if that suggestion appeals to maybe say the fact that you've secretly been wanting to try somewhere new, or maybe you're just sick secretly of that old restaurant, then that suggestion will be taken in a positive way. So that's kind of how it works. Now, an ethical hypnotist will often ask you what you want for your outcomes, because really that's the most effective way to create a suggestion. I can say everything that I think that a client should want for themselves, and if they don't actually want that, I could say, hey, so you could be a billionaire, you could create all the success, and maybe the client really just wants a happy home and a family somewhere out in the country. So that is why I will always ask what the client wants for their outcome. And then I will offer it back to them in both similar wording and in different wording, so that that suggestion can really be absorbed into the unconscious mind. So that's kind of how the reprogramming works. And a little bit of a note about that weird kind of mysticism that surrounds hypnosis. There is a magical part about it, because here's the thing, I actually never know what the client's unconscious mind is going to show them. I always know it's going to be useful. I always know it's going to be exactly what they need. But I never know what a session's going to look like, which makes it really, really fun for me. I was working with somebody who had a fear of flying, and typically I've got a couple of general stories and visualizations that I could kind of guide the client through. And her mind wasn't taking any of it. So we just kind of went with what her mind was bringing her, and her unconscious mind just showed her colors, just shifting colors. That was mostly it. A couple of images here and there, but really nothing came up. And I thought, oh my God, this is not going to work. She went on a flight and she said she was zen the whole time. So whatever her unconscious mind brought to her was clearly what she needed, which, yeah, to me is magical. To me, that's the coolest part of my job, is that I get to join my clients on these stories that their unconscious minds are bringing them on. So that's a very, very, very small taste of how hypnosis works. If you'd like to learn more, drop a comment, please subscribe, like this channel, so I know to keep making more videos like this, because honestly, I could geek out about this all day with you guys. Happy healing!